I'm Court from Carpool Gaming, and this is Spider-Man Remastered on the PC in review. Spider-Man was initially released on the PS4 in 2018 to huge fanfare. It was praised for its open world, beautiful visuals, and amazing gameplay. Re-released on the PS5 in 2020 as a remastered with 120 frames per second and ray tracing capabilities. Only ray tracing capabilities if your TV actually could support it and the 120 frames per second. I just want to put the caveat in there. This time, Spidey is swinging into a new adventure thanks to Insomniac teaming up with Nixxi Software to bring Spider-Man Remastered to the PC. Sony changing their philosophy a couple years back and bringing their AAA first-party titles to PC has been a breath of fresh air. With the success story of Horizon and last year releasing God of War, Spider-Man looks to be the most significant title that they've ever released onto the PC. Spider-Man is one of Marvel's biggest characters around the world, and PC players have been clamoring for this version of the game, and now they're gonna get it. Also, this PC version works on your Steam Deck, so you can play this game on the go, and honestly, has me thinking about getting one. I have played Spider-Man on both my PS4 and my PS5. My TV is capable of 120 frames per second and ray tracing, but I wasn't prepared for what I saw while playing it on my PC. My PC has a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 and an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 6-core processor. But my monitor only outputs at 4K 60 frames per second, so I wasn't able to push it to the whole 120 frames. I was having issues at first when I first started playing. As I pushed everything to high, I was having some frame rate drops and I was having a lot of issues with the ray tracing. But I was made aware that some of these issues that the developer is made aware of, and they are trying to work it with some of the NVIDIA graphics cards, and they've assured me that they are trying to fix this. To get the best experience, I had to turn off DLSS so that the ray tracing actually worked. Otherwise, it gave these little particle effects all over the place and the ray tracing just looked a little bit weird. I played it with high texture quality settings, 60 frames per second, and medium ray tracing settings, and the game looked beautiful. So beautiful that I went back to see what it looked like on my PS5 and was surprised to see there was such a big contrast. I primarily play on consoles, and I've always been told that PC is better, and this actually changed my mind. The environment looks so vibrant, and hopping onto the photo mode, I could zoom in to get to the littlest detail on Spider-Man's suit. My first thought after hours of playing is I need a new monitor so I can play on 120 frames per second. The draw distance in the environment seemed endless, and the puddles, let me tell you about the puddles. They look beautiful. So when I initially reviewed this game and I had it all locked up, recorded everything, I was reviewing it to the specs that I had, but they just dropped a patch, so I jumped right back into the game today. They have updated everything. So the DLSS works now. I have been able to put all my sliders to high. The ray tracing works. I was swinging around New York City. It looked beautiful. I didn't really see any stuttering. I have video here that you're probably watching while I'm talking this right now, showing you flying around, swinging around New York City. But the game looks beautiful. Now, I gotta go jump back in and play the game. Continue with the review. The first thing I tried was I put on my headset to test out the 3D audio. And Jesus, it's one of those things that in games, when they get the audio perfect, it just makes the game so much better. And with this game, you get so much more of an impact to the environment. Hearing people coming up from behind you, hearing the cars honking off in the distance, it just makes the whole game feel more alive. The combat system in Spider-Man is fluid and fun. Mastering combos and swinging around New York needs to be experienced. I can even find my daughter stealing my controller and just swinging around New York City for hours, doing nothing and loving it. I used my PS5 DualSense with my PC for the very first time, and feeling the haptic feedback in the game is amazing and always welcome, and always adds an extra layer of immersion when you're playing a game. There is a lot to do on the map, from side missions to finding collectibles, and I still found some of the side missions tedious, as I felt like it took me away from the story. They have you do these extra little missions so you can get upgrade tokens, and some of them, it just don't feel like I even needed to want to do them, and they just felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again. But this is just a minor detail in the game. One of my favorite things to do is just swing around the city of New York and then look for these awesome Marvel landmarks that are throughout this game. And let me tell you, anything that ever takes place in the New York City in the Marvel Universe, you're going to find a little bit of an Easter egg throughout this city. You can collect various suits from the Spider-Verse and upgrade those suits, gadgets, and your moves list. You will need to progress the story along and doing some side missions and collecting tokens from those side missions and gathering collectibles. Nothing has been added that wasn't in the previous version of the game. All the DLC is available for you to play, but you're going to have to progress the story a little bit more for it to be unlocked, but I would suggest you actually finish the story because some of the enemies in the DLC are actually more difficult than the enemies that you face throughout the story. Spider-Man Remastered has changed my mind about PC gaming and has me seriously looking into a new monitor to make some upgrades to my rig. I do not doubt that this will be the biggest release that Sony has ever had in the PC market, and this game will sell a ton. Those who haven't played the game before are in for a treat, and those who have will love to play it again. I couldn't recommend this version of Spider-Man more and generally feel that this is the ultimate version of this game. When we talk about what's the best version, I would actually tell people you have to experience this on PC because it's just that much better. To me, Spider-Man is one of the best games Sony has released in the last 10 years, and I have to say that this is the ultimate version for Spider-Man fans. So if you really love playing it on your consoles, and if you haven't played it before, I highly recommend you pick this up. If you like this review and you want to check out other work over at Carpool Gaming, you can find me on the PlayStation Drive, or you can find me on Twitter at Court Lalonde, or you can find me taking care of all Carpool Gaming social media channels at Carpool Gaming.